What's up, everybody? Marvin and Kid here coming to you again. How's everybody doing out there? Hope everybody had a very happy and safe Turkey Day. Welcome once again back to Characters Why I Like Them. And this time around, guys, I bring you a character from the world of Gargoyles, the cult classic cartoon series by Disney. I think everybody loved that show. And I'm here to bring you one of my favorite characters. As you can see right there, Brooklyn. Yeah, Brooklyn, named after one of the five boroughs of New York. Brooklyn was a great character. Very, very cool character. He was voiced by Jeff Bennett. No relation, okay? No relation to me. Brooklyn had a lot of character development, and the audience got to like him as well as feel for the character as much as I did. When we first see him back in, what was the year? 994 AD, we see him and the trio. They were just, fun-loving young gargoyles that, love to have a good time and, played jokes and things like that, and, kept their cool around the humans, and I remember, the little boy, Tom, coming up to him and tell him in his name, and they would ask, he said, "So what's your guy's name?" And, Brooklyn says, before he even had a name, no, it was Lexington who said, "Besides Goliath, we don't have names." And say, "So how do you tell each other apart?" And Brooklyn comes and say, "Friend," just brother or something like that. And we really got to see a little bit of what made Brooklyn tick and what separated him from Broadway and Lexington. When they finally got into 1994 in the modern era, Brooklyn and the trio really took to the modern era really fast before Goliath and Hudson. And that was another thing that I really loved about that is while Hudson and Goliath were more cautious, the trio were more out there. They wanted to know everything it was to know about this new era. So they would explore the city and things like that and be fascinated at what they saw. And they really got into the whole genre of, what was going on. From rock and roll, they really got into learning new words like cool and far out and things like that. I remember the one word when he said, "We've won, dude," and Goliath was like, "Dude," and he's like, "It's a new word I learned." He really got into the fashion sense of shades, and cool stuff like that. And I love how they came up with their names. Their names fitted them pretty much in a way because they took on names that suited their environment. They took on names of different boroughs or different streets in New York City. Brooklyn came up with the name Brooklyn. That's one of the five boroughs of New York. And Lexington came up with, that's a street in Manhattan. Broadway, of course, Broadway. And Brooklyn gave Bronx his name. That's another one of the other five boroughs of New York. But we also saw a lot of growth in when Demona pretty much tricked Broadway into thinking that humans were bad, and Demona got Broadway to bring Goliath to this area called the Cloisters, so she can basically turned Goliath into this husk, that would do anything she said. And from there on, we saw a major hatred for anytime Demona was around and Broadway was there. I mean Brooklyn, he would just flip out on her I don't trust her, anything like that. I'm never going to trust her again. Or there was one scene where they were, I think it was the season finale of the third season and it was right when Demona was gonna, she was going to set this virus on the world, and the only people that were going to survive it was the Gargoyles, and they didn't know who it was, and they were like, Brooklyn was like, okay, we got the element of surprise, so don't worry. And then next year he saw who it was. It's Demona, and he just flipped out. And then Broadway is like, so much for the element of surprise. Like, soon as that came up with Demona, he would flip out. He would just go crazy, and he tried to get that through to Lexington too, because if you guys remember, when it came to the Pack, Lexington had a problem with the Pack because how they tricked him and Goliath, and they became like their prey. Over time, we saw, especially, that Brooklyn was a good tactician. He was a good tactician. He came up with a lot of plans for the Gargoyles, like when they would go against some of their enemies, and that was something I also liked about Broadway. I keep saying Brooklyn. Excuse me. He really showed his tactician skills. Like, he was the man with the plan most of the time, and that Goliath saw that, and that was the reason why he made Brooklyn the second in command of the clan, which I agreed with a lot. I was like, if not Hudson, because remember, guys, Hudson was the leader, and he gave leadership to Goliath. So I thought that was really cool, and I love the line when they were about to turn the stone that Brooklyn gave to Goliath. He was like, Goliath, be careful out there. I'm in no hopes to take your place right now. And you would figure somebody as young as Brooklyn would say, you know what? Yeah, I can't wait till you step down so I can take your place. But no, Brooklyn was like that. Wasn't like that. He was humbled, a little sarcastic at times, but he was still cool. The one thing I definitely had to feel for Broadway was his love life. This guy, I said Broadway again? Yeah, sorry, Brooklyn. I'm sorry. The one thing you had to feel for Brooklyn was his love life. They really played that like this guy was to remain single. He tried to he would try to start a relationship with he had a crush on the mutate Maggie, but she liked Elisa's brother Talon. Then they tried to, in the show, he had feelings for Angela, but she was more into Broadway. And then in the comics, they had him try to start something with the clone Delilah, but she had feelings for Brooklyn's clone Malibu, or I'm forgetting the clones' names, but it was kind of heartwarming sometimes for Brooklyn, but he was still a great character and fun to be around. It really did me great to see Brooklyn succeed and grow in the series as well in the comics, because later on in the comics they actually did have him get a family and everything like that, so that was cool. I thought Greg Weisman did a great job on the books. But overall, Brooklyn was one of my favorites. Besides Goliath, out of the trio, Brooklyn was my favorite. I always did like Brooklyn out of Lexington and Broadway. I like Broadway and I like Lexington because Lexington was the one that would create a lot of stuff. He was like the tech whiz, but Brooklyn was always my favorite out of Goliath, the leader, and Hudson and people like that. He was just a great character to really enjoy and watch, see grow, and you felt for any time he was in pain. You felt you were with him. Well, I should say I was. I don't know about anybody else, but I was. I really enjoyed Brooklyn, and big ups to Mr. Jeff Bennett for doing a great job voicing him. But what did you guys think of Brooklyn? And I apologize to keep calling him Broadway, guys, but sometimes you get them mixed up sometimes. But what did you guys think of him? Let me know. And other than that, guys, thank you for listening once again. This is Characters Why I Liked Them. This is Mom Running Kid. Y'all take care.